every time Caitlyn gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted. Like, first of all, Black people can't be racist. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it. I set the record in 5 games.
Here is once again another example of Cheryl Swoopes hating Caitlin Clark so much.
Imagine Caitlin Clark, a rising star in women's basketball, breaking records and winning hearts, only to face a surprising backlash from the sport's legends.
If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be. She's a senior, but I think her COVID year was last year.
With Cheryl Swoopes leading the charge of criticism and Rachel stepping in to defend Clark, what started as a debate over one player's impact has exploded into a high-stakes battle between basketball's old guard and its dynamic new wave.
And this is definitely not the first time that Cheryl Swoopes has thrown shade or omitted Caitlyn.
Dive into the drama as we explore how this clash is reshaping the future of women's basketball and why it matters to every fan of the game.
No matter what other people do, if people are negative, then it's because they can't do what you do.
Before we continue, I'd like to kindly ask you to subscribe to our channel. Your support will help us continue creating and sharing content with you on a regular basis. Thank you for being a part of our community. Have you caught wind of the latest bombshell in women's basketball? Cheryl Swoopes, a major player in the game, has been shockingly fired, and it all began with some controversial remarks about Caitlin Clark.
They had to pull her off a game because she can't be trusted to call Caitlin Clark games correctly or fairly. They basically pulled her off the game for racism.
Every single person on social media that held it down for me, that was like, oh no, we're not doing this. I got mad love and respect for all of them, for showing up and showing out and making sure that I was good because people were checking on me. And I'm very appreciative of that.
I want to thank everybody that was looking out for me and showing up and showing out to make sure I was okay and I was good. She made herself the victim.
But hold on, it doesn't end there. Rachel also jumped into the fray and things took an even wilder turn.
She continues to hate on Caitlin Clark, and it's basically pushing the narrative that the media and other players in the WNBA and people in general are just hating on Caitlin Clark when there seems to be no reason why. So when you start to try to figure out the reasoning, all you can think of is maybe they're jealous, maybe they think it should have been them, that maybe they don't like how much praise Caitlin Clark is getting. It doesn't make sense.
You won't believe the hurtful things she said about Clark and the people who dislike her.
For people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, Black people can't be racist, but that's the farthest thing from my mind. I'm a Black woman, so it's important for me that I speak up for people that look like me.
Cheryl Swoopes is a highly acclaimed figure in the world of women's basketball. As a 3-time WNBA MVP and Hall of Famer, she has solidified her status as a legend in the sport. Her impact and influence are monumental, making her dismissal akin to a seismic event within the basketball community.
Cheryl Swoopes is being investigated this morning amid allegations that she mistreated players.
You are a great player, it doesn't make you a great coach.
The fact that even prominent figures like Stephen A. Smith are expressing dismay over Swoopes' firing illustrates the gravity of the situation.
Now, she made news last week when she sat up there and was applauding Indiana Fever players, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, hey, how you gonna ignore Caitlin Clark? Your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them. What we're saying is if you're going to give the Indiana Fever all the credit in the world, how you going to mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name?
But this is where it gets truly fascinating. What connection does Caitlin Clark, the rapidly emerging star that everyone is buzzing about, have with the dismissal of a legendary figure?
No matter what stage you're on, if you're at the highest stage, there's always going to be people that are critiquing you. There's always going to be people that are complimenting you. And I think that just speaks to like how I was raised too. Like, you know, I've never been one to like weigh the opinions of the haters too much, or, you know, I was told like, you know, at the level you feel all the praise, that's going to be the same level you feel all the hate. So like, I feel like I just try to stay right in the middle.
It's really something worth paying attention to. What's interesting is that just when you think the story can't get any crazier, Rachel enters the chat, and her perspective on this whole situation is about to completely surprise you.
It doesn't even make any sense, like not even a nod to Caitlin Clark, not even saying like Caitlin Clark's playing well or Caitlin Clark's leading the team. I don't even, like, you don't even have to be that complimentary, but leaving her out completely when she is the #1 component of that Indiana Fever team and has also been playing a lot better post this Olympic break than she was before, to completely leave her out, it's just, it's so weird.
What sparked the drama wasn't Rachel, but rather the electrifying events that unfolded on the basketball court. It all began with the rapid ascent of a talented young player, Caitlin Clark, whose extraordinary performances sent ripples of astonishment throughout the WNBA. How exactly did Caitlin Clark's groundbreaking displays on the hardwood contribute to the downfall of a revered Hall of Famer?
Caitlin Clark, I'm sure you saw, just became the all-time scoring leader. I'm curious, where would you rank her?
Ooh, that's tough because you got to win one. I feel like that you got to win one for them to even have your name in the conversation. And it took me 3 years to win mine, so it's hard. But congratulations to her. I know, and don't take that for granted. They were getting them up 100%. So congratulations to her. But I think she got to win her one to really kind of have her name in that. But I mean, she's always going to be a great player.
There has been a lot of talk about the impact of a single player lately, but it's not without reason. Caitlin Clark has been making waves in the basketball world with her incredible skills and performance.
Caitlin continuing to impress and she's going to break records nonstop for the next couple years. But everybody, that's why you had to pick Caitlin up.
From the moment she made her debut, she has consistently grabbed attention and gained recognition for her remarkable talent. Let's delve into why there's so much buzz surrounding her.
I think Caitlin Clark's WNBA peers are going to break her. I'm not alone in that thought. Charles Barkley, LeBron James, and countless others can see what I can see. The level of pressure on Clark to rescue the floundering league, combined with the amount of jealousy, racism, and anti-heterosexual bigotry directed at Clark, combined with the incompetence of the Indiana Fever organization, are going to permanently destroy Caitlin Clark. That is my prediction. I do not see a path to success for Clark, not a sustainable path.
Clark has been incredibly impressive in her rookie season, consistently averaging 25 points per game. Her performance is not just good, it's leading Rookie of the Year candidate material. However, her impact goes beyond statistics. Clark's influence on the Indiana Fever has been nothing short of transformative. She managed to turn around a struggling team with a 1-8 record and led them to victory. Her ability to change the game is undeniable, and she shows no signs of slowing down. Recently, Clark achieved a career high of 31 points in a game against the Chicago Sky. It's truly remarkable to see a rookie player achieving such outstanding numbers.
She's going to face a level of racism from black players.
I think it is pure, unadulterated jealousy.
Those women that are petty and jealous and have some animus towards Caitlin Clark, that's old school sport. We got a good guy and a bad guy. We got real competition.
The WNBA is experiencing a surge in popularity thanks to the incredible talent and charisma of a certain player.
Regular season viewership, it grew by 20% in 2023. It's grown by 180% now, which means it would take another 5 or 6 years to do what Caitlin Clark has done. So between draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%, between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%, between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%, what Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
After delivering outstanding performances, Clark was surprisingly left out of the Olympic team selection. It's baffling how a player of her caliber and influence could be overlooked. However, there is speculation that this setback could potentially benefit Clark by providing an opportunity for her to rejuvenate and prepare for the upcoming WNBA season. Now you might be wondering, how does all of this relate to Cheryl Swoopes? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Cheryl Swoopes, a renowned figure in women's basketball, made some remarks about Clark's achievements, and let me tell you, her comments stirred up quite a bit of controversy.
I do want to say this because we talked about the Olympic break, who it could help, who it could hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen the complete opposite with two teams, the 7th and 8th place team. I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana.
Absolutely.
Like, they look like they've spent time, whether they took time off or not, but they worked on stuff. This Indiana team, I'm going to say shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. I know we're talking about teams where they can move and things changing, but if Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, right?
They look like a different team. They came out firing. Firing. Yeah, that's a great point.
The break for sure helped them. And I feel like the break really hurt Chicago. I know they made a trade right before the Olympic break, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is the first game. So they lost to Phoenix in Chicago. Then they go beat LA in LA, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then they lost to Phoenix at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did double.
Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So before I get into that, I'm going to say this. Shout out to Angel Reese, even in a loss. Listen, 20 boards.
It's crazy.
20 boards.
While I absolutely admire these players, I find it surprising that Clark was not mentioned. Additionally, Swoopes raised concerns about the validity of Clark's scoring records.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it. If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be. She's a senior, but I think her COVID year was last year. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game. How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. I set the record in 5 games, right?
Yeah.
Because back then, we had a first-round bye. So we didn't get to play, I didn't get that 6 games. So I set the record in 5 games.
Took her extra game.
Well, I'm just saying.
You can say that.
No, listen. If I have 6 games,
the record's different.
well, I'm gonna have another 30. But I don't really care what the record is, who has the record.
The comments made by some veterans sparked a significant backlash within the WNBA community. There was a growing discussion about potential jealousy among older players towards the rising stardom of newer talents like Clark, indicating a generational conflict within the league. This led to a heated war of words, with fans, players, and even fellow legends stepping in to defend Clark.
Super strong, angry lesbian culture is going to destroy Caitlin Clark.
You are a great player, it doesn't make you a great coach.
Cheryl Swoopes, she's a dumb job.
Accusations of jealousy and an inability to accept a young star's success were directed at the older players, particularly Swoopes. Criticism came not only from fans, but also from basketball legend Nancy Lieberman, who publicly criticized Swoopes for not acknowledging Clark's talents and achievements. Swoopes found herself in a difficult situation and attempted to defend herself by taking to Twitter to assert her right to discuss players she has a personal connection with. Unfortunately, this only seemed to intensify the controversy, adding fuel to the fire.
Her three-point shooting has heated up, and nobody in the league can flick logo threes as effortlessly as Caitlin can.
Matters took a significant turn when the WNBA made a surprising decision to replace Swoopes in an upcoming game, opting to bring in Ron Thulen and Nancy Lieberman instead. This move conveyed a clear message that the league had lost confidence in Swoopes' ability to provide impartial commentary on Caitlin Clark.
There was like 5 or 6 seconds of literal silence because Cheryl Swoopes was not jumping in. That was the point that I was like, okay, here's once again another example of Cheryl Swoopes hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name. It's like Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Cheryl Swoopes was Harry Potter. Like literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre and so weird. And this is definitely not the first time that Cheryl Swoopes has thrown shade or omitted Caitlin.
This pivotal moment was much more than just a single game. It marked a significant turning point in Swoopes' esteemed career as a commentator. The actions taken by the WNBA sent a clear message that they were dedicated to supporting and promoting their emerging stars, even if it meant taking a firm stance against a revered figure such as a Hall of Famer. The decision to take such drastic measures was rooted in the league's commitment to safeguarding the future of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, a standout player, is not just another athlete. She is integral to attracting new fans to the sport. Therefore, it was imperative for the WNBA to ensure that her image remained untarnished and her potential unhampered.
That Indiana is in the playoffs right now without Caitlin Clark. By saying that like Katie Lou Samuelson's really more integral in terms of her two-way ability than Caitlin, and also saying that, and I don't besmirch her for this because lots of people are making arguments for whether they think that it is Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark that should be Rookie of the Year. I've said that I think it's Caitlin, but that I could understand someone making an argument for the other. It's not hate to make an argument for Angel Reese. So I don't take any issue with that part, but the other part, it just feels like there is something there, and I'm not really sure what is not connecting with Cheryl.
You know that. Stop it. More. If you had talked about it more, they would have played more games. Like I had the power to go up to ESPN and say, you know, directors and producers and cameramans and everybody else flocked to the WNBA at the time when it wasn't nearly as popular as it was today.
This becomes, see, the women of the W are hating on Caitlin and they hate her. And we've covered that on this show plenty. What I appreciate is that with time and with the benefit of hindsight on our side, I am noticing much more calm in terms of people saying, this is her opinion. This is not the opinion of everyone in the W. I think there have been enough cases of women in the W over the last few months supporting Caitlin, showing their support. I think there's been enough of that now that people can now take something that's seemingly inflammatory and give it and lay it at the feet of that person, as opposed to making it entire diatribe on everyone in the W and how all of these black women hate Caitlin.
The current scenario highlights the escalating intensity in women's basketball. Every word spoken and every comment made is being scrutinized closely. A single misstep could result in even a legendary figure finding themselves excluded from the inner circle.
Every time Caitlin gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted. Why like a Stephen A. Smith? It was that important to you to run the Kennedy Carter hip check, right? That was everywhere. But yet you didn't even discuss what Alyssa Thomas did to Angel Reese.
The WNBA is facing a challenge in balancing respect for its legendary players like Swoopes and Clark with the support for its new stars. This delicate balance has become crucial for the league as it navigates its future. Swoopes' recent actions have highlighted the difficulties in maintaining this equilibrium, and the league will need to find a way to honor its legends while also uplifting and promoting its emerging talent. The story isn't over yet, Just when everyone thought the drama had reached its peak, another voice entered the conversation, and she wasn't holding anything back. Tensions soared as her words reverberated through the room, injecting a new layer of intensity into an already gripping situation.
Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in American sports.
Caitlin Clark could be raising the tide and lifting all boats, and I think Angel Reese needs to take a pill.
There's not one other American athlete that could do what Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA or for any league.
I think she should be up for MVP.
Rachel DeMita, a well-known figure in the basketball world, has been making waves by standing up for Caitlin Clark. This move raises the question: why would a former NBA 2K TV host put her reputation on the line for Clark? To understand this, it's important to recognize that DeMita is not just a media personality. She has a background as a Division I basketball player, which has earned her respect in the basketball community. Transitioning from the court to the media, DeMita became the host of NBA 2K TV and has continued to establish herself as a credible voice in basketball commentary. When DeMita expresses her views, they carry weight and influence.
She continues to hate on Caitlin Clark, and it's basically pushing the narrative that the media and other players in the WNBA and people in general are just hating on Caitlin Clark when there seems to be no reason why. So when you start to try to figure out the reasoning, all you can think of is maybe they're jealous, maybe they think it should have been them, that maybe they don't like how much praise Caitlin Clark is getting. It doesn't make sense.
When DeMita decided to enter the conversation regarding the Caitlin Clark controversy, her input went beyond being just another opinion. It was truly impactful. DeMita expressed her support for Clark with an intensity that surprised even her most ardent supporters. Her passionate defense of Clark was not merely a show of support, but rather a direct challenge to the traditional attitudes prevalent in women's basketball. In her statements, she not only stood up for Clark, but also shed light on the inherent double standards that deeply affected the sport. DeMita specifically highlighted the contrast in how male athletes are celebrated for their accomplishments, while female stars often face unwarranted criticism for the very same achievements.
Serena told Caitlin Clark, I freaking love this, that there's no race involved. And Serena is black, okay? So here's what Serena Williams said to Caitlin Clark. No matter what other people do, if people are negative, then it's because they can't do what you do.
Bingo.
Good for you to say something like that, right?
I just love that she tries to stay grounded, and she says she doesn't, what did she say? She doesn't have a social, she doesn't look at her social, and I get it. I don't either. And I think it's so important to continue to do what she's doing, and no matter what other people do, then if people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do.
DeMita eloquently lauded Clark's profound influence on the game, emphasizing how she is attracting a fresh wave of supporters to women's basketball. She made a compelling case that rather than disparaging Clark, seasoned players should be rejoicing in her accomplishments. DeMita not only stood up for Clark, but also flipped the script on the detractors. She raised thought-provoking questions about why certain basketball legends appear to feel threatened by emerging talent instead of guiding and nurturing them, essentially prompting introspection within the entire basketball community. The response to DeMita's remarks was nothing short of explosive. On various social media platforms, fans and players alike showed their support for her. Many commended her for her bravery in speaking out on the issue, while others agreed that she voiced thoughts that many had but were hesitant to express. DeMita specifically pointed out the criticism faced by 22-year-old Caitlin Clark, noting that despite having fewer field goal attempts per game compared to Cheryl Swoopes during her college years, Clark was often accused of beating up on young kids. Additionally, DeMita highlighted the controversy surrounding the all-time Division I scoring record that Clark broke, with some arguing that it was illegitimate due to her extra year of eligibility resulting from COVID-19. Some individuals did not support DeMita's remarks. They accused her of showing disrespect to the revered figures of the sport, contending that she lacked an understanding of the historical background and customs of women's basketball. The dispute continued to escalate, with DeMita being at the focal point of the heated discussion.
You know, at the level you feel all the praise, that's going to be the same level you feel all the hate. So, I feel like I just try to stay right in the middle.
Every time Caitlyn gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted.
DeMita's words resonated deeply because they reached beyond Caitlin Clark and highlighted a larger issue in women's sports. Her passionate defense not only stood up for Clark, but also shed light on a broader challenge within the sport. DeMita's address touched upon the struggle of balancing respect for the sport's history with the necessity of embracing the future, and emphasized the importance of unity in a sport striving for recognition. By doing so, she prompted a critical reflection on how we discuss and support emerging talents in women's basketball, compelling everyone to confront our treatment of young athletes in the sport.
You know what Caitlin Clark said when she got fouled this hard?
What's going through my mind is I need to make these 2 free throws. That's all I'm thinking about. It's just a part of basketball. It is what it is. You know, trying to make a play on the ball and get the block. But yeah, I mean, it happens. And those free throws, when you have to shoot them with nobody at the line, are kind of hard. So it's a little different than having people at the line. So I was just trying to focus on making those.
We like winners who take responsibility and they don't act like victims. There's something in the marketplace.
The situation surrounding Caitlin Clark has ignited a firestorm that has permeated beyond the confines of an individual player and has sent seismic waves throughout the realm of women's basketball. Esteemed figures such as Swoopes are finding themselves under scrutiny for their remarks, while emerging voices like DeMita are staunchly advocating for the rising stars. It feels as though a clash has erupted between the established old guard and the formidable new generation. Amidst this whirlwind, Caitlin Clark finds herself squarely in the eye of the storm, prompting us to ponder on how she is navigating through this intense scrutiny. One can't help but wonder if this crucible will fortify her resilience, or if the burdens will prove to be overwhelming. What are your thoughts on how we can support emerging talent in women's basketball while still showing respect to the established legends of the game? Do you believe that women's basketball is on the cusp of a new era? Share your opinions in the comments section. This discussion is ongoing, and there's much more to explore. And for those who are critical of Caitlin Clark, it's important to recognize the positive impact she's had in increasing visibility and financial support for the WNBA. It's crucial to express gratitude for her contributions.
Who gives a shit about WNBA drama? We barely gave a damn about the WNBA before Caitlin Clark.
You know when's the last time I watched a WNBA game? Never.
As the dust settles on this dramatic showdown, one thing is clear. The world of women's basketball is evolving, and Caitlin Clark is at the heart of that transformation. With legends like Cheryl Swoopes and advocates like Rachel Dieter weighing in, this debate highlights the tension between honoring the past and embracing the future. What will the fallout mean for the sport and its stars? Share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think we can celebrate new talent while respecting the legends who paved the way? The conversation isn't over, and your voice matters. Stay tuned for more updates and join us in shaping the future of women's basketball.